Who is Scribe? Scribe is the narrator of A Wandering Mind, and we read her travel logs through the virtual spaces which she creates and also explores. And she is an educator. She has gone rogue. After an 18-year career in higher education, she decided to freelance. So now she is able to work from home and also spend more time with her child. In her previous job, as part of her job as an administrator was to handle admissions. She got to know each student before they even came on board, and based on a whole set of different pieces of information, she forecasted not only enrollment trends, but individual student success rates. When Scribe starts to experience paranormal phenomena, she realizes that it is not coming from herself, but from some other. Just as she would profile and predict the success of individual students in online courses, she used a lot of these same approaches to seeking out certain pieces of information that might be hits as to who was communicating with her. So she puts together each piece of information from a wide spectrum of areas in each of these persons' lives and what they put out there on the internet and in social media, and creates more of the bigger picture mosaic. Having created virtual spaces for learners and teachers alike, Scribe also was a pretty good early adopter of technology. She liked to play a lot with different types of technology for education, creating these areas and thinking about all of the different ways that individuals would interact with the space, individuals would interact with each other. Scribe, after grad school, after having gone straight through from kindergarten to grad school, was a little bit academically exhausted and did not want to read another academic article or literary work that was something that she wanted to get away from, take a vacation from. So she decided to read a certain genre, which happened to be paranormal romance. And she read a whole spectrum of paranormal romance. So this is one of her skeptics' questions as to maybe her paranormal romance readings had affected her so much that her mind was switched in some way. And coming from a literary background, she not only read these books, but she created a library, just like a critic would, evaluating each book based on a certain set of qualities. And what was missing in a lot of different reviews of paranormal romance books were the different heat levels of romance. So she created her own set of aspects in a book that would indicate if, for example, a book was just kisses to highly erotic. And she would criticize the believability of certain aspects of the story, the world building, and other things, if bad grammar was used, but it was used not on purpose, but the writer's lack of good writing. So she looked at it from different aspects. What's interesting about paranormal and also sci-fi is that there's a lot of world building involved and a lot of aspects of psi abilities in paranormal romance books as well. This gave her initial tools to understanding other realities. Scribe's worries early on was that there was something seriously wrong going on with her own head, and part of her research in that possibly there was a family history. Scribe's grandfather, in addition to having a hobby of photography, also had a hobby of genealogy, and he had file cabinets and file cabinets of personal family history records. As far as Scribe can tell, there's no family history of mental illness, although that doesn't mean that it was documented. Maybe it wasn't documented. And there is the possibility that Scribe is the first to have a mental disorder. And this is a dilemma she deals with on a daily basis. Is it all in her head, or is there some other force that she is tuning in? Later, when the static of the internet started to interfere with her life and these waves she was turned into that rippled from who knows where, she needed to translate. And her travel log details specific sensations, dreams, visions, and dialogues. And it includes reflections and cross-references of possible outside sources or influences. But to condense her experiences, she highlights her journey in creative renderings. Love at first, nightmares at first, anachronisms. Each of her stories has an accompanying poem that squeezes the content into the essential core elements. And each of these stories and poems explores levels of intimacy, fears, and anachronistic disorientation in different spaces, which for her morphed into more training exercises and retreats for the internet team as she found out who was communicating with her. She does, among her Love at First short stories, deal with the first physical space meets with her internet team members. I'm going to read an excerpt from Swarway. A space-time ripple causes butterflies. Science and society play catch-up while we reminisce. But what she and her teammates are experiencing and researching are actually, they are pioneers in what future science is going to